Hello, queens. Hello, kings. And monarchs of all kinds. I welcome ye here on this momentous day. I think we have a good one on our hands this time. This is what I would consider to be one of the most interesting pure mages I have ever made. I say this, but in truth, I think I've just rediscovered the wheel all over again, because this is the Demon Souls mage in disguise. But I don't have the energy to really examine that at the moment, so let's talk about the Geomancer. Geomancy felt like the appropriate name because it's basically the opposite of astrology, even though historically it did have a lot to do with astrology. But either way, Geomancy is to geology as astrology is to astronomy, which is weird, that they're flipped. I like the thought of the earth-based magic not being the Unga Bunga rock smash mentality that a lot of geo-mages seem to get in media portrayals, but this rather the same scholarship and diligence as Raya Lucaria demonstrates. Basically, I want gentrified earth magic. I could not explain to you how I settled on the final fashion, but something about it just works. Yes, I could have more int or more mind, but the Confessor hood on the alternate Knight's Cavalry top with the little handcuff bracelet of the Zamor bracers is just perfect. Something about it is just wizardly enough to say, this is a caster. Yeah, this little part of Shaded Castle you can just throw spells through, or at least Magma Shot. It doesn't have like a collision for spells. I'm not sure what's going on here. Neat trick to use. Alright, the first thing of note is that Rykard's Rancor is unmatched space control. The unpredictability of the positions of the explosions makes it eminently threatening. High Poise can walk through an explosion before staggering, but it's a good chunk of fire damage either way. While the explosions are going off, you can approach, retreat, heal, cast, use Flame Grant Me Strength. Really, it's entirely up to you because you're covered for the time being. If you're boring like me, you'll throw up a Rykard's Rancor and then immediately go in with Catch Flame, which is kind of the opposite of interesting. It is effective. I'm not sure I would consider it entirely interesting. Notes on casting speed. I do really, really value the speed of the Azures, especially since the Magma Sorceries are just so slow. It's really that much more effective when the animation becomes that slow. Not that, like, Magma Shot is, like, really, really slow. Like, if you instant cast it, it's like a medium speed spell. And it's effective at, like, close-range punishes like this if somebody's doing a really slow animation. Good old Rock Smasher. Nice and reliable Rock Smasher. Something I've discovered is that Free Aim Magma Shot is a fantastic poke because it can be functionally anywhere in range, even right in front of you if you throw it at your feet, it has to be rolled, and even then may still do damage, which is threatening to approach on principle. Now watch as I use the mere threat of my presence to kill someone. I will say the outfit is a little bit, it's a little bit Hot Topic 2008 MCR skinny jeans, but I can live with the edgelord aspects of this just fine. Also, the glowing with black and red fire probably isn't helping my case either. The only thing that descends this whole thing from going into edgelord territory is the Magic Crystal Wand. The Crystal Wand is really grounding in these situations. Here you will see me use Roiling Magma as if it were Magma Shot because it has the exact same animation. So you can mix up whether you're going to be using Roiling Magma or Magma Shot on the threat of Magma Shot or Catch Flame. But if that threat isn't established at some point, then it's kind of pointless to expect that to work. But once again, with max cast speed, it's not that slow. It's sort of medium speed when not charged, so I think it's a good idea. And the doubly interesting part of this is that not only is it an animation mix-up with Magma Shot, but it's also a timing mix-up because you have the option to charge it. There, he did not respect it, and he did so correctly because I hadn't used the threat of Magma Shot to establish that. Magma Shot is your Claymore R2. Roiling Magma is your Seething Chaos, which is also somehow your Claymore R2. The analogy kind of breaks down when you get into the animation mix-up there. Plus, people usually have to discern these animations through your explosion graphics. So while you melt their graphics card, they also have to react to the animation mix-up that you have. I had attuned Bestial Sling kind of just on a whim, knowing that it was good and that it would do a lot of poise damage. But it actually turned out to be useful for just tapping people into the explosions or finishing them off in chase-down scenarios, because let me tell you, there are a lot of chase-down scenarios that happen with this build. For some reason, it's always running away. It is the running away for me that is quite possibly the only bane of this build, at least in my mind. Its overall effectiveness I cannot attest to, but it's high fire damage, it's high physical damage, it's gonna do some good things. It's kind of difficult to make something do this much damage and for it not to be at least decent. And it's not like nuclear one-shot damage either, so it's a nice balanced sort of spread of things. Another thing is you can use Bestial Sling to keep people in the lava pools for a little bit longer for another tick of damage, which with Gelmir's Fury would be especially potent. Rock Smasher is fun and different, and with Azur's Staff you aren't even that vulnerable. The option to hold it makes it good for close roll catching or trying to beat a shield, except the fingerprint. But no one's beating that, I don't think, anyway. Either way, I like it as a mix-up with the other area of effect options, Gelmir and Horalu's Earthshaker, which is not a spell, but it really fits the theme of, like, Rock Wizard. But it's really quite usable after the buff a while back. I find it's best to set up by a Rykard's Rancor or Roiling Magma, or even a small lava pool from a Magma Shot, something to defend you while it initiates. Most people won't even want to engage with it, but if anyone charges in, they are almost guaranteed to take some kind of damage. And with the mix-up of a follow-up slam or not adds depth to your choices, and a small timing mix-up on when you initiate that second slam. We're all about the mix-ups here. This is the mix-up build. There's very clear 50-50 scenarios that you can create, basically out of nothing. Well, out of FP. And none of these spells, aside for, like, Catch Flame, are broken enough on their own to warrant nerfing in any way, so, like, I'd say it's fair. I've also taken to using Garank's Rock, and it might be redundant given Magma Shot, so I may swap that out for Beast Claw because it hits a unique area relative to the other spells. It's rather good as a longer-reaching alternative to Magma Shot because they have different weights, speeds, and trajectories. It's a unique animation, so opponents will know what it is, but sometimes you catch people out where otherwise a Magma Shot would have been just short. And you can forgame it, which makes it way better. This is definitely the defining I am a rock wizard spell to really seal the thematic deal, you know? It has to be there, otherwise the rest of it doesn't make sense. I'm now requiring the addition of lore spells. You have to have spells on your build that are functionally useless, even if it fits the lore. My current big problem is people running away. The spells are so big and so threatening that the only answer to them is to flee for the hills, like Pompeii. Baiting the opponent into your explosions is somewhat predicated on the threat of you yourself. Catch Flame and Bestial Sling need to be liberally used to accomplish this, which is fine, but the real benefit is that you now have the full use of your arsenal unlocked. Making space by being threatening lets you begin your careful push and pull game. You can push opponents away by repeated uses of space-controlling spells, moving forward, and so on. Sometimes you'll back them all the way past where the level began, and then usually try to initiate a pincer with the PvE, or find a corner to use. Sometimes creating a corner to work with will let you get kills where otherwise infinite expanses would not. And these corners don't have to be literal corners like walls. It can be like between a rock and a hard place, like a canyon and a boss, or a particularly difficult group of enemies. You can make corners by using the level, unless the entire level is dead. But that's kind of a scenario where people will just win because they want to. Not really concerned about it. I use Flame Grant Me Strength liberally. The damage boost is too good to pass up, and it really transcends Magma Shot to another tier of usefulness. And then once a Rykard's or Roiling Magma is up, clock's ticking. Do as much as you can with the space you've got. Recover yourself or push forward. The whole of it makes sense mechanically to use and feel once you understand the role of each spell by what its function is. The only odd one out is Gelmir's Fury, which is really, really situational and overshadowed by other options, but it covers a specific area with rather highly damaging magma puddles, so I feel obligated to keep it and understand how it works at some point. Then again, it might just be bad and be really, really bad, and there's nothing to be done about it, but I don't know. This build would be much better with poise, yes, but I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And meeting certain fashion requirements makes the wait between invasions easier. Most of these invasions were at 125 for no reason other than personal habit, and I really was having quite a hard time getting invasions, but then I bumped it up 8 levels to 133, ye old meta invasion level. It really started to pick up, and I got a lot more just everywhere that there are meta invasions. And it gives me a little bit more flexibility on how I stat things out. I could take this lower. My only real requirement, I think, is finding a way to keep Rykard's Rancor. I just think that's one of the key features of the build. Being able to use that spell, and it only takes 18 faith. So, we'll see. If people want to just win, then they will. It is not particularly hard. You or I could do just that without a second thought. But I feel like I've really happened upon something very creative and mechanically deep here that really does something cool that every other build I've made thus far, at least in Elden Ring, hasn't quite gotten to. There's a level of complexity that both rejects and embraces features of the game's mechanics, in that it uses a variety of spells that are, quite frankly, not as good individually as they are together. And then it also embraces the extremely high absurdist damage on Catch Flame to not completely melt, but decently char opponents, which then allows you to funnel them back into playing footsies with you, and makes for more interesting dynamic engagements than the L2 Fest that I've been experiencing thus far. It demands that your opponents take time to fight you, and that you will take that time in turn, and that you will not be wasting it with a 30-second invasion, but perhaps something a little bit more deep and memorable. There is a story in I Fought a Geomancer. There's not so much a story in getting bled out in, 3 seconds by paired Scavenger's Curved Swords. And even if you're stopping PvEers from running through the level, at least you're someone there to send them back to the beginning and tell them, no, please play the game. And there will be rivers with bees, and there will be stars of ruin. But there will also be magma shots, and roiling magmas, and Rykard's Rancors, and rock blasters. Because these spells are fun and interesting, and engaging. And yes, can be spammed like anything else, but you're gonna run out of FP eventually. So the game is telling you to make the most of your time and choices. And the price of time and choices is steeper than ever. But I guess that doesn't mean to throw in the towel entirely, because we're nowhere near finished with this journey. but it is a good feeling to finally toe the line of having something that is unique and viable. To not be so devastatingly overpowered that no one would stand a chance, but to have something that can at least compete with an overleveled or two now and again. In light of the birth of this sort of new style of mage that I've created, I welcome anyone who wants to try it to put their own spin on it. You know, I didn't even dip into the gravity sorceries. Those are a great option, especially collapsing stars, with all of the damage in the Reichardt's Rancor explosions. That's completely untapped potential. And then there's, I don't know, sky's the limit. But I find that the cornerstone is like the three main magma spells of Magma Shot, Roiling Magma, and Reichardt's Rancor that really makes the whole thing come together. And then, you know, Horlu's Earthshaker and Rock Smasher and Stone of Garank are all like flavor. Stone of Garank being more important thematically. This is a genuine disconnect. In all my days, I thought I would never see it again. The genuine disconnect. The fear. There is no feeling quite like the rage quit. Or I suppose it's more of a fear quit these days. Just turning off your brand new PS5 console to avoid losing in a video game that you signed up for. Anyway, it's an infinite, renewable resource of comedy. I get myself into kind of a bad situation here because of my positioning, and then it eventually just becomes an entire attempt to just reset. So I'm just backing up, trying to find somewhere to go that will get me away from the spell spam. Ironically enough, the spell spam, me running from the spell spam. I want to do my spell spam, god damn it. And then we see Rivers, so we know that it's a threat. So we're really just trying to get back. Here I was thinking that I could stun him into backing off with the stone, but it went over his shoulder because of course it did. And then when I see the bridge, I see corners. I see places to trap because the danger zone is falling off the edges. So this is like technically a hallway. But the walls are made of death. And the ceiling is made of sky. So yeah, when people usually don't honor the threat of your being, then they usually die. And you could see that I was rolling into him there to try and present myself as a danger so he would roll backwards into the roiling magma. And if nothing else, this build is a fantastic catch flame machine. I have elected to use the fire damage boosting physic as well as the Crimson Burst tier, the regen one, because it's too good to pass up. It's absolutely invaluable. But the fire boosting physic with the Flame Grant Me Strength creates quite a bit of fire damage from the sorceries as well. It really takes the magma puddles up a notch from being basically worthless to at least doing a decent little chunk of damage. And now here we see enclosed space. And enclosed space is where we really shine because in enclosed space, there's no one to hear you attempt to escape explosions. And if they can't hear you, then you're not doing it. We have a spare moment, so we put up Flame Grant Me Strength. And then we set up our traps, as we know they will be coming back down at some point. And it's good to have something up. And lo and behold, I've had quite enough of these bees by now, so I eventually just decide to get out Bestial Sling and stun him to death. Something I try to stay away from, but if people are mashing at you, I mean, it's the best you've got. And then I had to leave that invasion because I bloodied fingered into the valley, so I couldn't very well run up to them in a reasonable amount of time, so I just severed fingered out. I wonder if I had a full FP bar and I put the Rock Smasher drill to the fingerprint shield if I could break it. Because it's magic damage, right? I'm almost certain it wouldn't work, actually, and you could almost definitely just shield poke through it with a rapier. But I do wonder. There's also the untapped potential of mixing up Rock Smasher with Shatter Earth, which I'm sure might be interesting. I wouldn't know. If you really wanted to use the Stone Digger staves and really go to town with the rock sorceries, that would be fine too. There are only 2 of them, and I just really felt like Rock Blaster was the one that we wanted. For all this time here, we're just pushing, we're just putting out threats. We're just slowly poking at them, trying to see if we can get anything through the fingerprint shield. And then I see that we have a Co-Invader, which means, okay, now I have like 3 spells I can use, because I don't want to hit him. Co-Invaders are still somewhat rare, but I mean, it's good to temper yourself with some trigger discipline to not absolutely nuke a fellow red, which I almost do several times here, because I don't have any trigger discipline. My advice to people watching my videos is level your health more than me, and don't do what I do. I have at least 33 mind at any time. That's enough for the 3-4 bars you get with all of your flasks to be quite decent. Even though the spells are pricey, you can make it work. And that bar is like a full cycle of your spells. I did some duels, and honestly, it wasn't that bad. I only did like 3 or 4 of them, but still, in the time I was playing with it, the build made sense to use, and I didn't feel like I was hamstringing myself in any way. There's a potential use of Gelmir's Fury in guaranteeing damage on Wake Up or in an enclosed space when the opponent's already at low health. It's certainly an option. Chasing down with Catch Flame or Bestial Sling also works just as well. You can even kind of hedge your advantages in really granular ways. Like, look at these little puddles of lava here. They make him have to do a little run around them instead of just running in a straight line at me, which I guess covers me for a little bit longer. It's not a huge benefit, but it's something. It's better than, like, 0 benefit from a spell that just misses. Because even if you miss with the explosion, the magma there is some kind of deterrent of movement. And the Valkyries down here are my new best friends. They don't really often kill people, but boy do they sure push them back. This here is some incredibly disrespectful movement because there's so much danger in the weapons that these people are using. To be anywhere near them is just hilariously stupid of me. So all in all, disrespectful. And I will not apologize for using Starlight Shards. Builds with no finite limits can go somewhere else. This isn't technically an all-spell build because it does use Horaluth's Earthshaker, so I can't say that it's that. But it is all purely FP-based. Rock Blaster and Shatter Earth are like giving away the conceit that you're controlling Earth, and instead just like crushing it with your raw strength. Oh, and also throwing boulders with one arm would give that away too. See, it's just a really good long-range stun in these situations when you either have something up, or if a Valkyrie is acting as your point player. The amount of poking that you can do is very, very impressive. Magma Shot and Stone of Grank aren't particularly expensive, so you can use them as much as you really need to. Roiling Magma and Rykard's Rancor are more expensive, but they're kind of mandatory. And they're not so expensive to the point that you can't use them multiple times per bar. They just are the points of weakness for if you ever were to run out of FP. They would be the culprits. You can see here I'm getting upset, I'm getting bored, and I want to put a phantom away. Sometimes I think I have very little patience, and then I think about the way some other people play these games, and I'm not the most impatient. I know I'm not. And then we're dealing with Fingerprint Man again, who loves his fingerprint very much. Do you know how good it feels to just absolutely deep fry this person? Very satisfying. Highly recommended. Find your local fingerprint shield idiot and put them in a deep fryer. Not their body or person, of course, just their online persona. Their in-game character. And now with our red as backup, it's pretty much done. It's a done deal. It's a wrap. There's no need for that. Now when the threat of roiling magma is not respected, you will take a big chunk of damage. And then here I don't respect his counterattack, so I get punished. Then I go for a gamble on Rock Smasher, or Rock Blaster, and somehow come out on top. And then I just kind of spam him down because I'm over it at this point. If he doesn't want to back off and heal, then he's done. He's done playing. He's decided to stop playing the game. People will give up on themselves more often than not. And here I'm thinking, I know he's in this general direction, so maybe he's up on this beam here. So I just throw that up there because it's free coverage. It doesn't really matter very much to go ahead and spend that. And then it goes off, nothing really happens. And in the end, love wins. And by love, I mean whatever relationship me and this bell tower have. A bell tower is basically a small enclosed room where the walls are death and the ceiling is a bell. That's what we call a callback. And as I've already stated, we have the issue of running infinite seemingly ceaseless running. And to be fair, the build is kind of scary enough to warrant running away from it for an infinite amount of time. You are a walking napalm blender. Which is a really, really sinister way to put it. I would presume molten magma would be far more dangerous and damaging than napalm, but I don't need to be having this discussion. After much trying, and then finally finding a corner in a giant bear, I was able to get another, what I think is a genuine disconnect, because, that would be a situation that would be disconnectable. And I will leave you with this tragic invasion. May his story be forever told. Take care, everyone. Happy geomancing.